Welcome back. We messed around through Heimdall here and there, but it's time to head off to the Sankt district now. Get on with the story? Maybe there's probably a few scenes around here we need to check in on. I expected that to jump straight to it. Yeah, you can see the 3 stars we need to do first.
The Heimdall Cathedral.
It feels oddly quiet around here.
Let's go inside after we've finished any other business we have.
Took the chance of them speaking to get over here a bit. Is that Imperial Defense Force? They weren't even really patrolling until yesterday. What should we do, Rean? We can't get any closer, we'll just have to wait. Indeed. Now we'll head off to Calvardian Embassy. Which I'm surprised is still standing. The door is locked. It looks like the embassy's completely closed. They basically declared war with them after all. We have to accept that diplomatic relations have been severed completely. I wonder if the other officials still here will be deported as well. Oh, and that clerk. They've really done it. It means the government is serious. That means we have to be ready for anything. There's nothing left for us here. We need to go forth and find our way. Right. Alright, one last thing to do. Taking its time there. Alright, okay, Elise. Sorry for asking you to do this. I'll do anything for Rean's sister. Depending on what Elisa does, we may be family soon. Sheesh. Grandfather! It's that weird snaking pattern where they're all just coming in at the same angle and stuff. Rean. Oh, you're here. Welcome. This is quite a spectacle. Rean, you say, everyone? Goodness, you're all okay. Just heard about your situation from these 2. I see. You must have come here because you were worried about Instructor Rean. I won't deny it, but I was hoping to get a hold of the princess. Certainly worth the worry, especially considering what happened yesterday. My father was right before our eyes, too. Not to mention that speech her younger brother gave today. Hey, Fee. I talked to the other 2 of them outside earlier. I had the opportunity to meet Elise during the inspections at Crossbell. I had my people connect with the communication department at the Imperial Palace. They're not very security conscious, so it should work out. I suppose we did just finish with the communication system in Valflame Palace. It'd be hard to do so directly, but that should be a good way to get a hold of her. I'm about to contact them now. Things go well? You can talk to her. With Arena's negotiations and Gwyn on the controls, the call was successfully made to Valflame Palace, and a meeting with Princess Halfling was set up. I was surprised to hear that Gwyn and Chairman Arena were contacting me, but never thought it would be Elise, along with Rean and the others. Princess, glad I get to see your face. His Majesty, how is he? There haven't been any updates. He's still in critical condition. This morning, the medical college brought in a famous doctor. Is that doctor who treated Sharon? Medical equipment is currently being delivered. Just came this morning on a Rhineford high-speed plane. Plane? He should be fine. The doctor is really talented. Everything will be okay, Princess. And considering Ash is one of my classmates, that is an easy thing for me to say. That's true. I understand that something was off with Ash. My mother has calmly come to her own conclusion, so please don't worry about that. More importantly, that Altina and Milliam are missing. And Cedric's speech. Princess? I've decided to leave here and return to the girls' school. Huh? But why, Princess? I was worried about my mother, but she told me to take care of whatever I needed to take care of. Now that Cedric's given his speech, I want to see how things are outside the palace. That's very commendable of you, Princess. It's probably best for you to see the situation for yourself. Indeed. But please have someone escort you. Your safety is imperative. Please don't worry. I'll have my finest guards accompany me. Elise, let's meet at the hotel. I should be there in an hour. Very well. I shall be waiting. Please be careful. And thank you for understanding what Ash is going through. To show our thanks, let us take care of things. Ash's behavior, the Chancellor and Prince Cedric's speeches, and the imminent war with Calvard. We'll find out who's pulling the strings behind Erebonia and get our peaceful world back. Instructor. Same goes for me, Princess. Inspectorate won't tolerate this either. And we'll also find whatever it was that dragged your brother into this. You can count on us. Of course. Thank you, everyone. After that, the call was cut off so that Princess Alfling could make her own call. Everyone said their goodbyes to Elise and the others before heading out. Right, so let's head over to the cathedral and get quite a lore dump. It's gonna be a big one, so be ready for this. Be ready. I'm the cathedral. Ermengarde said people wish to speak with us. It would take a while, so we should take care of any unfinished business. Story will progress upon entering the cathedral, and all additional challenge elements will end. Enter the cathedral. The time has come. No one's here. How can this cathedral be completely empty?
So, you've arrived at last.
Oh. You're... from the Leaves Chapel. Sister Rosine? I had heard rumors, but... Wait, so what Gaius and Emma were talking about? I was somewhat expecting you to show up here. But your main objective is different, right?
Yes, it's good to see you all again. Please, come in. They're waiting for you just over there.
Ah, I'm glad you all finally made it. The Church has decided this issue now merits the attention of the Congregation for the Sacraments. As such, the Archbishop and all the staff here have been moved to another location.
Huh? You're... I get it now. Huh? You're that former instructor from Thor's main campus. Thomas?
Thank you for all your diligence, Rosine. I'd feel much better if you were to stand watch over the front door now, just in case.
Yes, understood. Leave it to me.
What was that all about? Yes, this is pretty shocking for us too.
Let me introduce you. This man is a member of the Gralsritter, a division of the Septian Church. He's the second in command, in fact. Thomas Lysander. He holds the seat of Second Dominion and is sometimes known by his title, the Partitioner.
Gralsritter? They're an armed knight organization that is run by the church. I heard that female terrorist, S, was once among their ranks. Wait a minute. Gaius, does this mean... Are you...
Now allow me to introduce you. This man is one of the Gralsritter's 12 Dominion, the successor to the 8th Dominion, Gaius Warzel.
But why? Is this why we couldn't get a hold of you for the past 6 months?
Yeah, a lot happened all at once. After graduating from Thors, I returned to Nord and began observing the struggle between Erebonia and Calvard. However, I began to feel something dark and sinister carried on the winds of the plateaus. I consulted my father and the chief, and eventually my old teacher, Father Barkhorn, came to visit. You might remember the name. He was the traveling priest we chased after during the Civil War. But it turns out, he was also the 8th Dominion of the Gralsritter, with the title the Roaring Lion. He was an extremely skilled knight, who investigated the salt pail in Northumbria and trained Brigadier General Bardius. Apparently, he was worried and came to Nord to check up on me. He explained to me that what I had been sensing was called the Gale of Ruin. I'm not sure why I'm able to sense it. Maybe it's because I'm a descendant of those who fought alongside the Lionheart Emperor. I mentioned this to him and he came to a realization. But then it happened. A Calvardian ship that broke past the 7th Armored Division attacked my village. My father was away at the time. I fought back in an attempt to protect my family, but it was no use. Right as I prepared myself for death, my teacher threw his huge body in the way to protect me. And as he lay there dying, he passed his stigma onto me.
Yeah, very interesting.
Across the nearly 1,000-year history of the Gralsritter, its highest-ranking members have each borne one of 12 sacred markings.
But the fact you can pass it on... Like, huh.
This was one of those markings.
The Roaring Lion. Heard that name many times. He saved many people who were affected by the disaster in Northumbria. Yes, among the current Dominion members, he was the most veteran. After the stigma was passed on to Gaius, I took him to the holy city of Astraia. He received night training, hence his half a year of silence. I see. If that's what was happening, you should have told us. Yeah, we could have helped you. It's okay. Everything happened so quickly. I did everything I had to do, and finished my night training. Last month, Eustace was finally able to reach me. The power that I received from my master. With it, I will save the Empire and my second home as a member of Class VII. Gaius. Sheesh. You've always been so grand and reliable. Thank you, Gaius. Please lend us your strength. Yes, I will give you my all. Seeing someone like him puts us under even more pressure? Yeah, the gap isn't just in age or experience. This group certainly has become awfully formidable. Yeah, not really. We're still training just as much as you guys. I have a ways to go before I reach the heights of my predecessors. And speaking of which...
Grandmother! Stop hiding! Come out already! You're the one who called us here in the first place, aren't you?
I only hid myself so as not to interrupt your discussion.
Ah, you're Emma's grandmother. The elder of the witches. Rosalia, was it?
Indeed. But you may simply call me Rose. I had you all gather here for one reason. To explain to you the background between the Hexen clan and the church.
I see. So that's how it is. But aren't the witches opposed to the church?
It's not as though we don't believe in Adios. There have been some differences in opinion over the years, but we and the church have worked together on a number of occasions.
For example, during the War of the Lions, or the vampire incident in the Middle Ages. Not to mention the fight against the Dark Dragon 800 years ago.
But all that was just Rose sticking her nose into other people's business.
Huh? Wait, so you were involved in all that?
Legend has it, Emperor Dreikel's camp was once visited by a good witch, and the novel Red Moon Rose features a vampire hunter affiliated with the church who was, in truth, the true ancestor of the vampires. The woman you now see before you was both of these people. even if she looks a bit different.
Tripled up. How old are you exactly?
800 or so. However, you should know that my situation is somewhat unique. All other witches are normal humans. Except, of course, for the fact that they are all descendants of those who once guarded the Sept-Terrion of Fire.
Sept-Terrion of Fire? It's the same as the aureole in Lebel and the great tree of Crossbell. Sept-Terrions, the 7 gifts bestowed on humanity by Adios. It said that they were all lost during the Great Collapse 1,200 years ago. They're the things Ouroboros has been trying to get their hands on all this time. Yeah, now for the main topic. Now, where to begin? Look at Mackie's there, still mouth like wide open. Grandmother, we don't know anything beyond this. Don't leave out any details. Make sure you explain it fully. I second that request. I don't know the details either. Let's see. So perhaps we should take turns talking. Very well, that will suffice. I'm sure you noticed by now, but there's a front and back to this empire. The spirit veins are directly affected by the turbulence of the government and war, and that causes cryptids and powerful monsters from other planes to stir. That explains it then. As the Empire's territory spreads, so will they. Promogras and Magic Knights. Where did they come from in the first place? Well, to begin, the Promogras is a Malagras from the higher planes. It once served as the eyes and ears of the Sept-Terrion of Mirage. Normally it's blue, but after the incidents in Crossbell, it all vanished. That is until after Crossbell became part of the Empire, at which point it began reappearing in this new scarlet shade. The implications are rather chilling. Changed colour to match the Infernal Castle, perhaps? There is undoubtedly a connection. As for the Magic Knights, you may have heard before, but they are golems from the Dark Ages. They were created by mages of the Empire to fight against the Divine Knights. During the Civil War, something caused them to stir once more, and they now appear in Crossbell via the Spirit Path. No way. I'd also explain the increasing incidence of cryptids recently. What about the Society? The Phantasmal Blaze plant, they sought to use Crossbell's false phantasm to awaken the blaze in Erebonia. At least that's what I heard. Seriously? So that's their plan. Where did you hear that? Well, last night I heard it from the Chancellor himself. He told me some other intriguing things too, but I feel like he intentionally left out some of the more important details. I see. I heard you talk to him, but it seems Ouroboros, working Crossbell 2 years ago, was to bring about some kind of change in Erebonia. Just so you know, Crossbell's Mirage Sept-Terrion was an artificially created fake. It was stronger than the original, but the Society had no interest in it. Right to hazard a guess, the goal is to acquire the 2 treasures that originally existed here. The Sept-Terrions of Fire and Earth, but once called the land of Erebos, home. Sept-Terrions of Fire and Earth. So Lebel had the Sept-Terrion of Space, Crossbell the Sept-Terrion of Mirage, but Erebonia had 2 Sept-Terrions? Now hold on a second. Or if the witches are the descendants of the people who guarded the Sept-Terrion of Fire, yes, then the Black Workshop and the gnomes are the same people. Ah, the descendants of those who guarded the Sept-Terrion of Earth. And there are counterparts, much like the royal Alslaers, if I remember to say that right, family of Lebel and the Croy family in Crossbell. In addition, you may be aware that each Sept-Terrion has its own holy beast assigned to watch over it. Yes, wasn't it just? Lebel had an ancient dragon, Crossbell had a divine wolf. And as it had 2 Sept-Terrions, Erebonia had 2 holy beasts as well. However, after the Great Collapse, each of them vanished alongside the Sept-Terrion they were to oversee. That's the core of this issue. The 2 Sept-Terrions, 2 groups of people who worship them, and the 2 holy beasts. The Sept-Terrions and Holy Beast disappeared and the people changed their names. What happened in Erebonia 1,200 years ago? Allow me to reveal to you the truth behind the land of Erebos. The story still relies on a modicum of speculation. Please keep that in mind.
In the beginning, this land housed two of the Sept-Terrion. The Arc Rouge, Sept-Terrion of fire and wielder of fierce power. The Lost Zem, Sept-Terrion of earth and bearer of unyielding endurance. Each assumed the form of a colossal guardian and went about granting boons and performing miracles for its people. For a few centuries, the land of Erebonia prospered, but eventually, its people began to vie for power and control. The Sept-Terrions had always granted their people's wishes, but now, their peoples each wished for the other's destruction. And so, the two colossi began fighting. Their battle ravaged the earth and split the sky, devastating the entire region.
Just keep a note of the split the sky. If we're thinking firmament, there may be more literal sense to that than we realize.
The humans tried to stop them, but it was in vain. The Sept-Terrions' fight continued 1,000 days, scorching the land black. When the battle ended at long last, it was a tie. Exhausting their power in one final strike, the two Sept-Terrion were blown away, left as nothing but empty shells. Yet the tale did not end there.
The power expelled by each Sept-Terrion collided and became one, resulting in the creation of an entirely new entity. The Great One, the Sept-Terrion of Steel. It was an existence created from the union of fire and earth. It was beyond anything else in this realm. It was the ultimate source of power. Though things seemed fine at first, the survivors of the war soon realized the eternal conflict within it. They knew this conflict would cause it to grow ever more unstable, and that it was not something that could be handled by mankind.
With the Holy Beast's assistance, the kins of fire and earth joined together to see the Great One sealed away. However, each of their attempts ended in failure. Left with no other options, they resorted to their final plan. The Great One would remain whole in the higher plane, yet its physical incarnation in this world split into numerous shards. It was this final gambit that saw disaster averted.
Indeed, their combined efforts bore fruit. The kin of Earth created 7 vessels, while the kin of Fire split the Great One's power and infused each vessel with a part of it.
7 dolls in the form of knights, each bearing the Great One's power, the Divine Knights.
Triple dot. Wow. That is beyond fathomable. I was told about this in bits and pieces, but it's all that happened 1,200 years ago. It wasn't a fairy tale, right? At the very least, something similar happened. So what happened after that? Why did Valimar and the other Divine Knights start fighting? This is as far as the story that was passed down goes. So the Kin of Fire became the Hexen clan, and the Kin of Earth became the Gnomes. They split the unstable, ultimate power into 7. Both sides decided to watch over the reconstruction after the Great Collapse. Oh, and by the way, many people from each kinship have since abandoned their roles. They joined together, started accepting people from the surrounding area, and created the foundation of what became Erebonia. This is around the same time the Septian Church was spreading across Erebonia. 300 years passed and the Arnor family established the city of Heimdall. That's when the disaster of the Dark Dragon occurred.
900 years ago, Heimdall was a small city of only about 50,000 people. However, it was one of the burgeoning centers of culture for the region. The Septian Church had finished construction on the Heimdall Cathedral, and there were plans to develop the city even further. But it was then the Dark Dragon appeared, blanketing Heimdall in miasma and transforming it into a city of the dead. Emperor Astorius chose to lead his people south and made St. Arc the new capital of Erebonia.
In helping Emperor Astorius deal with this crisis, the Hexen clan and gnomes each suffered substantial losses. The Hexen clan lost its elder, and the gnomes their holy beast. And so ended their alliance. The final time they spoke would be a century later. It was when Emperor Hector awakened the Vermilion Knight to reclaim Heimdall from the Dark Dragon. He did so at the urging of the chief of the gnomes and the new elder of the Hexen clan, myself. However, the Emperor fell to the Dark Dragon's miasma, and the Vermilion Knight to its curse. The Emperor's son had the chief of the gnomes and myself seal the cursed knight deep below the Imperial Palace. That would be the last act our two clans performed together. I do not know why, but the gnomes cut off contact with our clan and hid themselves away. In the 800 years that followed, whenever war struck Erebonia, a divine knight would enter the stage, demonstrate its might, then vanish. I was certain the gnomes were involved, yet all we could do was guide awakeners on the proper course. This unending pattern reached its most fevered peak 250 years ago during the War of the Lions. The false Emperor Orthros unearthed the cursed Vermilion Knight, and a mercenary under Prince Lucius' employ awakened the Palatinate Knight. Prince Dreichels found the Ashen Knight, and Leanne the Argent Knight. The four awakened at once, made for a grand war indeed.
So that's how things connect. So many parts to this story I want to question, but Semma's grandma was around during the War of the Lions? Good witch. Read about them in fairy tales. As the prince's guide, I accompanied the Dreichels' camp. I remember those days. It used to be quite the beauty. But all I mean to say is that the art depictions of me are not inaccurate. As stated earlier, the elder of the witches isn't a normal human. So you've been watching over the clan after becoming an immortal being? Yes. However, I only came into existence 800 years ago. My predecessor perished soon afterward. I do not have many memories from before that point. So naturally, there are things that I still do not know. But there are things that you do know about. Such as how you said that the maiden Leanne was the awakener of the Argent Knight. Whether or not she is Ouroboros' Steel Maiden. That's true, you could confirm so many things. It is her. Of that much I am certain. She was the daughter of a count who met the Wandering Prince, later challenged the apocalypse, only to lose her life. However, before that happened, it was I who guided Leanne to become the Argent Awakener. But Leanne knew her powers were too great, so she kept them hidden away. It was only during her battle with the apocalypse that she unleashed her full might. In the end, however, she was fatally injured and passed away after the war. Then, half a year later, I witnessed her revival, along with your ancestor, Arsaid, second in command of the Eisenritter. Ah, so that's why. You the one who revived them, grandmother? Yes, that's what I'd like to know too. After Leanne passed, I thought it strange how her body did not rot. So I took her body back to the village, and half a year later she simply woke up. I assumed she had become an immortal. I could not say when or how. Leanne realized what was happening to her, so she left Erebonia to walk the earth without ever telling her love, Dreichels. She left Legram to Arsaid, her right-hand man. I occasionally met her whenever she came around, but the last time was 20 years ago. Okay, so yeah, 20 years ago. Which again matches up with when Rean was born, which is suspicious. That's when she met Ouroboros' Grandmaster. Brought her into the fold. Thank you for sharing this. Some things that can't be overlooked. Yeah, we've seen too many incredible things over the last few months. So the boss and Crow were both... As I said earlier, we have no idea what specifically happened. I think the key is the Divine Knight. The Jaeger King was not an Awakener when he was alive. Yeah, that's significant. So he was clearly brought back and then made an Awakener. Which is like, okay, Crow is different though. On the other hand, Dracos was an Awakener, but did not become immortal. He has remained dead. Yeah, and that's niggling at me. Because there's several others that should be the same, but they died. That's right. Instructor Rean isn't immortal, is he? Right, he's still been growing since graduating. Yeah, I may have some weird powers, but I'm definitely aged. Is there a common reason? I believe there are only two people who know the truth. The current Chancellor, Gilead Osborne, and the Chief of the Gnomes, Black Alberich. So that's the leader of the Black Workshop. Yes, though I do not believe he is an immortal like me. The leadership of the Gnomes is somehow passed down from one to the next, in order for them to achieve their goal of bringing about the Great Twilight. The Great Twilight? This is the first time I've heard of it, but is that the fairy tale of the end that Vita was talking about? Yes, 800 years ago as we were going our separate ways, that's what the Chief of the Gnomes told the Prince and me, as if he was foretelling a future where everything ends. Wait, that's too... It's much too similar to the direction the Empire is heading. Let me add to this. The reason Barkhorn and I were in Erebonia was because we discovered an anomaly. The spirit veins were being distorted all over the continent, and the source seemed to emanate from the Empire. It was like a ripple effect. The incidents in Laberne and Crossbell, as well as the civil war in Erebonia, only served to further increase these distortions. They continued to get larger after Crossbell and Northumbria were folded into the Empire, and larger again when the cryptids and magic knights of Erebonia appeared in Crossbell. On the other hand, Pleroma grass, which is native to Crossbell, started blooming in the Empire. The Great Twilight really is about to happen, and all of this seems to be an omen of things to come. Who is this Alberich person? Used the masked man as his agent, and hired the Jaeger King who is supposed to be dead. Are there other gnomes out there? Your dear rabbit friends may technically count, but besides the masked man, their leaders seem to have at least one other acting agent. Let's see who this person may be, but it would seem they are a talented craftsman at any rate. Oh, and before you jump to conclusions, I'm not speaking of that little brat Schmidt. It would seem the person I speak of possesses a different kind of genius than he does. Triple dot. A talented craftsman. That sounds... It's putting some unpleasant ideas in my head. In any event, Alberich and the Chancellor are probably connected. It's unlikely to be through the Intelligence Division or his children. With the incidents of last night, things may have already been put in motion. Oh. Why do you say that? Last night we finally decoded the Black Records that you found the other day. Oh, the Black Records are a collection of a particular type of artifact sometimes found in Erebonia. I was actually exchanging information about them with Rean. Really? When did that happen? Right before all of you graduated, he revealed his true identity to me. Tell me not to tell anyone. I hope you don't hold it against me. Instructor, I mean Father Thomas. Sheesh, you probably took advantage of Rean's sense of responsibility, didn't you? Well, I can't deny it. In any event, this is what the updated Black Records said.
When the sacrifice is made and the ancient blood flows, the path to the Grawl of Erebos shall open. When the tainted holy beast is pierced by the blade of World's End, and its blood fills the Grawl, the Great Twilight shall fall upon the land.
What? That timing is too perfect. As if the prophecies were written about our current situation. If the ancient blood is referring to the Emperor, And is the sacrifice referring to ash? What about the growl and the blade? Growl is probably related to the Septian Church and the tainted holy beast. Father Thomas, could that be? Yes, as we stated earlier, guys. There is a sacred place beneath this cathedral, the Primal Ground, a facility that was designed to play a major role after the Great Collapse. 900 years ago, when Heimdall was shrouded in darkness, it retreated beneath here and disappeared. Disappeared? I heard about such a facility in Laberle. Yes, there is one beneath the Granzel Cathedral in Laberle, too. However, when Heimdall was retaken, the space beneath the cathedral was buried by rock. What if it didn't disappear and simply transferred somewhere else instead? Ah, so it still exists? The holy beast mentioned in the prophecy is likely the holy beast of Earth. As I said before, it disappeared after the disaster 900 years ago. It's only speculation, but I believe the dark dragon you faced the other day was merely a servant of the true holy beast. Wait a minute. Are you saying the dark dragon wasn't the cause of everything? That was indeed a powerful cryptid. It was not something the witches and gnomes could not take care of together. If the holy beast gave birth to the dark dragon and is still alive somewhere, where else could it be but the primal ground? All of the conditions set forth in the prophecy are lining up. There's got to be a joke. Guarding this blade of World's End that defeats the holy beast. In other scriptures, it is called the originator Zero. I'm speculating that it's a special weapon created by the Black Workshop. What in the world? At the very least, it probably isn't anything like what the boss uses. Do you think it's made of Zemurian ore, like the weapons used by Divine Knights? That would seem most likely.
Muse?
Is something the matter?
Oh?
You realize something?
Right now, we need any straw we can grasp at.
Anything at all could help, no matter how small.
Yes, you're right. That term. Originator Zero. Could that be OZ, perhaps?
That's what the Black Workshop called Millium and Altina.
They're model numbers. OZ.
What are you talking about?
It's clearly OZ.
So you finally made it.
That voice.
Vita! Ah, so the prodigal granddaughter returns.
Misty, Vita!
I heard you had been acting on your own.
Nice to see you again, grandmother. Emma, Celine, and Class 7 too. And thank you for mediating, Mr. Lysander.
Oh, don't even mention it. It always breaks my heart to see a family torn apart so.
Vita! Why? You really don't plan on ever coming back, do you?
That's correct. As I said before, my allegiance will forever lie with the Grandmaster. I can't return to you and grandmother. I can never go back to the way I used to be. Just like the Steel Maiden.
Seriously, who even is this Grandmaster person? I have no clue. But it is clear she is quite taken with them. So do tell, Vita. If you have not decided to return to us, why show yourself now? Has Ouroboros finally decided upon its course of action?
Yes. After our experiments with the 3 ions. The 6 other Anguis came to a unanimous decision. They decided to ignore my warning. They will work with the Chancellor and the Gnomes to bring about the Great Twilight, completing the Phantasmal Blaze Plan.
That's...
So that's how it is. The reason Ouroboros was so quiet the past month wasn't because they left Erebonia.
It was to carry out their plan and determine whether they should work alongside enemies and traitors.
How can that be? If that were the case, it means...
They're all our enemies?
Is this
It's not the cathedral's bell.
Huh? I think I recognize it from Crossbell.
You do?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I remember hearing it right before the incidents in Crossbell, when we were still independent. Oh! The one from the museum!
The bell from Stargazer's tower?
But the sound's coming from a different direction than the museum.
The Phantasmal Blaze Plan. What a fitting name. I wonder how much of this she foresaw.
That is quite enough mumbling to yourself. If you know what is going on, show us!
It'll be a bit tough without Grianos. I'll need your help, Grandmother. Emma, Celine, you too.
Yes! Ugh, I'm not your slave.
It's almost like it was made to go there. Can be sort of like, this brings me back.
Now then, let's say we celebrate the continuation of the Phantasmal Blaze Plan by ringing in the Great Twilight. I, Enforcer number 0, the Fool, shall play the opening note.
Imperial Villa, 500 Arch Point. It's such a shame, because it's such a lovely place as well, and it's just turned into something else. It's a giant freaking egg. Where did the bell go, though?
Check that out!
Huh. Sure is something. Well, how about that?
So, the beginning of the end, is it?
Deja vu. The Grawl of Erebos. Just as the Black Records foretold.
The crypt where the great power will be reborn.
Rean. Eustace.
Couldn't have guessed this is how my day would turn out when I woke up this morning.
Let us begin. It is time. Chief of the Gnomes and head of the workshop, show me the way, Black Alberic.
As you wish, my lord.
Dun dun dun.
Rufus. Millium.
Was that Allie?
Yes. But why?
Boss, Zeno, and Leo.
Azure Siegfried.
And that guy in the lab coat. Isn't that...
The blazing demon and the fool were there as well.
So that's the maiden.
Why?
We just spoke this morning and...
What's going on?
Lisa.
That man's name was Lumen or something like that, right? His hair looked different.
It was the hat.
Franz Lumen, the first disciple of G. Schmidt, and the deceased husband of the Reinford Group's chairman, also known as Franz Reinford.
Ah, so he has been lurking in the shadows these past 20 years.
Yes. Perhaps for the sake of working with the Chancellor to engineer this very moment.
Elisa.
Snap out of it! Now's not the time! As a bracer, I can't just sit here and let them pull off whatever that Twilight crap is they're planning. How about all of you?
She's right. We can't stop here.
We gathered together to do whatever we could to help. Our goal remains unchanged.
Yep, true.
Elisa, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, Vita, what will you do now?
Well, I'd like to charge in there alongside the rest of you, mostly out of spite. Unfortunately, I suspect things won't be quite that easy.
What do you...
Something's...
There's a turbulent swirl in the mana.
Was that?
I believe so.
Sir Lysander, Sir Gaius, cryptids and magic knights have appeared all over the city.
And we're going to end this part here. See you in the next part? Ta-ra for now.